welcome to another episode of Bourbon with a Taste of Military History. Today I got another special one for you. We're going to talk about a bourbon out of Thomastown in Kansas City, Double Oaked Bourbon. I think you'll enjoy this. We'll go over that. And then we're also going to discuss, last time we talked, I was reading a book on Vietnam War called Matterhorn. It's a fiction account, but it's based on probably the true life exploits of the author, who was a Navy Cross winner, and it talked about the hill country in the northwest area of the Vietnam, up near the DMZ. So kind of intrigued me and kind of got me wanting to think a little bit more about the Vietnam War. It's kind of funny, I finished that book recently, and I want to recommend it entirely to you guys. If you want to read a great book, historically accurate, but yet with fictional characters that drag you in and make you feel like you're part of the platoon, read Matterhorn. It came out in 2010. It's just an excellent read on Vietnam. It really brings you into the finer points of what it was like to belong in a small platoon in the late 1960s in Vietnam. I think you'll find it very interesting. I did. There was a lot of things that I learned that I didn't know about. So it got me looking a little bit. I have a vast collection of books and magazines, and one of the magazines I subscribe to is Vietnam. So I went looking through some of my Vietnam magazines, and I found an article, because like I said, it intrigued me about the fighting up there, because it's really not well documented. I had a rather difficult time trying to locate certain battles that occurred in what they call that hill country up there. But I did find an article called Ambushed in Leatherneck Square. And we're going to talk about that. And there's going to be a map appearing here in a minute that you're going to be able to look at to show you the general area of the Leatherneck Square, which was an area between some fire bases up in Vietnam. We're going to talk about that. And then we'll talk about the latest book that I'm reading. But what we're getting ready to do right now is take a tour of the new man cave / studio. So please join me right now as we make a move to the man cave. All right, so we're going to enter the man cave studio. You've seen this entrance before. I haven't done anything new to it, so don't expect anything, right now, right here. But there are plans for this, and as you follow along with me, you'll see them starting to develop. So come on in, come on in. And one thing that we have done is we have finished 90% of the electricity work. I brought my partner from the police department in. His son is an electrician, and he rewired everything for me, and we're pretty much set up. The only thing that we haven't set up, if you'll look this way right here and look up to the ceiling, is this is the bar area. And we decided, instead of putting the lights where I wanted, we're going to put 2 ceiling fans and a light in here. So we're going to have to create a beam along the wall there to hold that. So that's one of the reasons why we haven't got full lighting in here. We did put up some sconces, because I'm going to have 10 of these in here along the wall to have that kind of oldish, officers club look from the 40s and 50s, maybe 30s. When we put that Vietnamese plywood in here and we darken it up and give it that mahogany look and put crown molding around it to make it look like that. So those will all go up. They're up temporary right now just to provide a little bit of lights. You've seen the fireplace. This is where the fireplace is going to go. It'll be an electric fireplace. We're not going to bring gas in or regular wood burning. It'll be electrical. But this is where it's going to be. And we'll sit in a world as junk is right now, my military stuff. We'll have a couch and chairs and all that. So this will be kind of like the lounge of the area. So this is where all the work has been happening right now. Don't worry about the arch. It's all going to get redone. But this, like I said, is where we're at. As you can see, the walls are coming up really nice. I finished this wall completely right here. This wall is completely done. And it could not have come out better. Now, I'm not a detailed carpenter, and some of you will look and see lots of flaws, and that's okay. This is the first time I've ever done anything like that, and that's the way I wanted to do it. Now, there is going to be another bookcase that's going to be 2 feet tall that's going to handle my binders and magazine collection that I have. That'll go along this wall right here. As you can see right now, I'm working on this wall. And actually today I will finish this wall right here, and it'll all be done except for this mistake I made right here. The wood, for some reason or another, should I bought the boards together, so you would think they'd all be the same size, but they're not. I'm having to cut each one differently now when I fill these in, and that's kind of weird. It's kind of slowed me down a little bit. So you can see the lights are up. The lights are done in here. These are the lights that are going to be in here. Space for a TV up here eventually, and we're coming along real nice. So well, let's get back and talk about bourbon. All right, we're back here in the studio. Of course, you know, my partners in crime, the dog and cat, Bruno and Boomer, are playing because they love to be on the video too, and they think it's pretty cool, and they just always seem to gravitate here when I'm here. But we're going to talk bourbon right now. Like I said, we're going to talk about Tomstown Distillery, and today we're going to talk about their Double Oaked Bourbon. Now, they do have another bourbon that I like called Royal Pendergrass, and I don't know if we've actually done that one yet, but if not, we're going to do it again. I do like that bourbon, the Royal Pendergrass. And Tomstown. So they're located on 1701 Main Street in Kansas City, Missouri, not Kansas City, Kansas. And pretty cool bottle. I mean, that's got that old retro look. Trying to decide what that look is from the 30s and 40s that they used to call that. I can't remember what the name of it is right on the tip of my tongue. But let's pour some in the famous Glengarry glass and see what that's going to taste like. Once again, like I told you, nice caramel look to it. Not too. Look at those legs hanging there. It's pretty incredible the way they're just like that. Dang, I like that, man. That's very distinctive. But I do like the color. Let me see if we can do the famous nose test. Okay, so now I smell something this time. But you know, the power of suggestion can be very strong. And I did some research on this earlier, and it had a butterscotch smell to it. And I'm smelling the butterscotch. I like butterscotch, so maybe, like I said, because I read that it has a butterscotch smell, that's what I'm smelling. But I do smell the butterscotch. Let's taste it and see what we get here. It's 90 proof, so it's not going to be that strong. Ooh, whoa. A little bite for a 90 proof, but you know what I tasted? I tasted the oak. Oh, and I just love tasting oak in my bourbon. Still giving me a nice warm hug here in the throat. I like that, dang. It's settling, moving down. You know when you have a great bourbon, and you just take a small sip of it, like the first original taste, and it just warms you. I mean, it doesn't have to be, you know, today's in the 80s here in Arkansas and sunny. I mean, it doesn't have to be a warm, cold night to like it. It just kind of gives you that comfort feeling, you know, when you drink it. And there's not a whole lot of bourbons that do that, but this one did it incredibly well and hit me right off the bat. Kind of makes you want to just hug it and take it to bed with you. It's so comforting. Okay, the second taste doesn't bite as hard, which is good, but you're still getting that caramel taste. I mean, not caramel, I'm sorry, butterscotch taste. So that's not bad. I mean, that is something that you could drink neat, straight from the glass. Doesn't have to be one of these fancy Glengarry glasses. It can be any glass. It could be a damn cup if you want it to be. But that is just something I think you could enjoy, just sipping, relaxing, maybe have a fire going on outside, reading a dang good book, you know, or even watching something on TV. Okay, let's try the Clem test, where we take the bourbon and put it on a glass of ice. Of course, you know, we're still always bragging about these neat tumblers that my son Michael bought me. I really like them. They're very heavy, and I like that. So let's put that in there. I'm going to put a little bit more in there because, you know, that's, you know, we want it to be a little fresh. Let's close this up because we don't want to drink all of it because that maybe have to go. I am going to Kansas City for a wedding in December. Looking very excited to it for Lindsay and Mark. So I will definitely maybe go a day early and try to go to Tomstown Distillery and get some more of this whiskey. All right, it's had time to settle with this ice. Let's see what it's doing here right now. Of course, you lose completely the smell when you put the ice on it. I mean, all you're smelling is the ice, so you need to do it otherwise. Yeah, I still get that oak taste. I still get a little burn, which is unusual after you put ice or a little bit of water, on a bourbon, especially one that's 90 proof. Guys, I think we found a winner here. I think we really found a winner. I don't know what price I paid for this, and I'm on their website right now, and it doesn't tell me what the price is. But what it does tell me is that it's, Tomstown Double Oaked Bourbon. It's got a warm and spicy bourbon with notes of maple, butterscotch, and honey. And I really think that's what I'm smelling and tasting is the combination, not necessarily the honey because I'm not a big honey person, but it's a combination of the maple and the butterscotch. I couldn't have agreed more with the distiller that came up with this menu and the ingredients to put in this bourbon. He did an incredible job with it. One of the other things they do different with is, of course, they age this in American oak barrels, but they do a second aging. Where they include a French and American oak stabs, and they insert them later in the process. This is what brings out the caramel taste in it, without the bitterness that comes from additional aging, according to their distillery. They call it a crowd-pleasing bourbon that's perfect for cocktails. I want to say that with the research that I've done on bourbon, that one of the reasons it was made to make old fashions and other bourbon cocktails. Maybe not necessarily just a straight sipper like I'm doing right now, but was one that they specifically designed for the, hold on, Art Deco bottle. I remember it to me. See, that kicks in every once in a while. The old head still keeps going. I keep thinking about something. I totally zero in on something else, and something will come back later on and pop right in my head. It's an Art Deco bottle. Art Deco. Cool bottle. Very heavy, solid, from the times. I love the bottle. Oh, let's get back to the bourbon. Art Deco. I'm so glad I came back with that. Man, that's good bourbon. All right, let's talk about Vietnam. Ambush and Leatherneck Square came from my Vietnam magazine, April 2009. Good magazine if you want to read about Vietnam, what's going on there. Not very long articles, all of them are 3 or 4 pages, but well written, well researched, and very historically accurate. So what happened here is that on September 6, 1967, Mike, India, and Kilo companies of the 3rd Battalion, 26th Marines were on their location north to Charlie 2, C2, an artillery fire base southeast of Con Thinh. Now I'm going to include a map here in a little bit. You'll be able to look at it quickly and see this area where Con Thinh is. It's just south of the DMZ and the Ben Hoi River. So they went there and they ended up getting into a tussle, very big fight with the North Vietnamese Army, the NVA regulars of the 324th B Bravo Division and the 812th Regiment. The 324th is one of the regiments that worked that area for a long time. And in fact, the book Matterhorn talks about the 324th. That's one of the divisions that they went against. Very well trained, very well led NVA unit. Very disciplined, they know how to fight. They ended up getting into that for fighting on September 7th and 10th. And the 3 understrength companies of the Marines suffered almost 350 casualties in those 3 days. That's incredible for Vietnam. There were some big battles in Vietnam, but the casualties were always, not that high. So 4 out of 10 soldiers were killed or wounded. God, can you imagine being back in Vietnam, being a 19-year-old kid from Podunk, anywhere, and thrust into the jungle, and you're fighting for your life with well-trained professional soldiers from North Vietnam, and your friends are getting shot around you, and it's just pandemonium. one of the things, that we talked about in Matterhorn, and it happened here in this battle too, was the lack of getting supplies in when you needed them. It's hard to get resupply in that area, hard to get ammo, hard to get, medical supplies, but most importantly, hard to get water to the soldiers. I mean, water is extremely important. During battle, the soldiers get dehydrated very quickly, and once you get dehydrated, you start to lose, your train of thought and all kinds of things, and it can be really bad. So, what happened here is one of the units got caught out in an ambush by the NVA, 11:50 hours on the 7th of September. And the Marines were already in an area, and they actually had armor there, tanks, to back them up. But the tanks tried to rush in to rescue the company, but there was a rice paddy in front of them and heavy jungle on other sides. They couldn't get the tanks through the rice paddy, so all they could do was fire from the rice paddy, so they couldn't actually rescue those soldiers that night. Well, during the night, or at 1400, the beleaguered company that was pinned down received another NV attack from the tree line, and they were really getting the crap kicked out of them. So the India companies and Kilo and tanks tried to move in to assist them, but the NVA had kind of almost encircled them and had started to hit them with rocker, mortar, and small arms fire around 5 o'clock. So they had to actually pull back into some church ruins and try to develop a small perimeter, to fight off this, because they were getting hit with hundreds of rockets, 60 millimeter, 82 millimeter, RPGs, 140 millimeter rockets, 51 caliber machine gun. I mean, they were getting slammed. So, and then to the right of them, they received another attack at 1720 hours from the NVA. So the NVA were actually trying to see, and you'll see on the map when you look at it, the NVA were coming in from 3 different directions. They had this company out there that was caught and ambushed, and they were laying down trying to fight off the best they could. But there was also rockets, artillery coming in from the NVA, and then another was coming in. So the units that would normally have come to rescue them were able to get to them because of what was going on. So it got pretty wild, and they fought for a while there on that, and were finally, with the aid of artillery and air cover, were able to hold the Vietnamese off, and in the morning, and it tapered off. The NVA withdrew, and Indian company managed to survive. At first light, it says here, the haggard Marines emerged from their foxholes to see the grim results of the fighting. More than 100 dead NVA littered the battlefield. And that, like the article goes on to say, the struggle had been costly. For the Marines, 220 had been killed in the action, 170 were wounded. Kilo Company helped India move back to the battalion perimeter. So 2 days later, the 326 was reinforced with Lima Company, and they would fight a second bloody engagement again with the NVA's 812th Regiment. Another 200 Marines were killed or wounded, while the North Vietnamese suffered several hundred casualties. You don't hear a lot about the fighting up there in the hill country with Vietnam. Asia Valley, you hear about that with, We Were Soldiers Once Young. Incredible book. I think you need to read it if you get an opportunity to read about Hal Moore. The movie was incredible with Mel Gibson. He did a great job of playing Colonel Hal Moore with the airborne soldiers. But Vietnam continues to intrigue me the more and more I read about it. So I'm going to tell you and promise you that I'm going to spend a little bit more time on my Vietnamese history, because to be honest with you, I really don't have really not spent a lot of time studying the history of the Vietnam War. And I should, having 3 uncles that fought in it that were very close to me. So I was going to tell you the last thing before we wrap this up. I'm reading a new book. I've decided to, you'd think I would have gone to Vietnam because we've been talking about Vietnam, but I've decided to go back to World War II. And I'm reading the trilogy books by Rick Atkinson. So the first one I'm reading, which I just started 2 days ago, is An Army at Dawn. And of course we're talking about the beginning of World War II, where the Americans for the first time are invading Africa. Basically what this does, this book leads up into the whole thing, and I'm looking forward to it. The 3 books are all rather large. It's going to take me quite a time to read all 3 of them, especially since I only read 1 chapter a morning. But I think it's going to be good to get my World War II history back up to speed where it needs to be. And you know, the more you can learn about the early parts of World War II, where the Americans finally came in and decided to fight, the better. So with that being said, let's wrap this up. Tom's Tom Double Oaked Bourbon, a winner, one that you could drink straight, neat, or with ice. And I think you're going to enjoy it completely. With that being said, thanks for watching another episode of Bourbon with a Taste of Military History. Oh, I almost forgot. So I've been contemplating changing the name of the video. And I've done some research, and this name has not been taken. So if you would, how many viewers I have, and I appreciate each and every one of you. I never have done this. I'm not doing this to become famous. I'm just doing it because I like bourbon, for one thing, and I really like military history. But I'm thinking about changing it to Bourbons and Battles. Let me know what you think about that. Write it in the comments and let me know. So like my friend Mike says with his, my favorite YouTube channel, Outdoors with the Morgans, if you like my video, hit the like button, share it with your friends, subscribe, and as always, leave me some comments telling me how I'm doing, how I can improve my video, what I need to take out, what I need to add, and hey, we'll keep you abreast of what's going on in the man cave. Until then, I'll see you again. Keep drinking bourbon and keep studying military history, because we're here today because others died for us. So thank you.